So, hello everyone, and welcome to day 3 of the Miracles Challenge. I am so excited because today we're going to be diving deep into the God field and how to access the field of infinite possibilities. It's been a wonderful ride so far. We've been getting lots of amazing uh, uh, posts and information from people and seeing what they have been noticing about what happens when you first start to train your brain and notice and become aware of what's happening. And then when you start to live in from the heart and open up to gratitude and joy and just the miracles that start to shift into your experience. And so today I'm going to be sharing with you, and we're going to be diving into one of my favorite parts as someone who is a scientist at heart and who loves to talk about the quantum and quantum physics and the field. This is one of my favorite parts. And so I always like to start and say, Rumi says, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. We've known for a long time that there is this field that we are all infinitely connected to. And if there's this field of possibilities and we are all connected to it, we can tune in to this channel and we can get the messages, the healing, and the learning. But that comes in many different ways, and we've got to do that through learning how to become silent so that we can step into the space in between or the gap, and to raise the energetic vibration, the bioenergy around us, so that we leave this Newtonian world of matter, which says that this thing is a solid object or I am a solid object, and understand that we are actually energy. We are full of so much empty space and energy that if you were to take my whole body and get rid of all of the empty space and energy, I would fit, and so would you, on the head of a pin of a needle. So like right tiny, tiny, even smaller than my pinky. So that's how much energy and empty space or the field that we have within us. And so we want to be able to understand, how do we let go of the identity of our bodies and who we think we are, and the matter and the reality that we have created, co-created around us, to allow ourselves to step into the magic of this field, this quantum field. And we want to be able to understand that when we understand this relationship between matter and the Newtonian physics and energy and quantum physics, or what I call, the God field and quantum reality and quantum miracles, I realize that my identity, myself, exists in the environment, whether my body is here or not. Bruce Lipton, who I had the beautiful experience of recently bringing onto my Quantum Miracles Mastery docuseries, and we had this amazing conversation. He shares in the Biology of Belief about this idea that we are this energy and this broadcast. He says, when my physical body dies, the broadcast is still present. My identity is a complex signature contained within the vast information that is collectively comprises the environment. So, what is the secret to accessing quantum potential? Well, we started to learn some of that, and one of the things, why is vibration or joy or gratitude so important? Because it is part of the secret formula. Emotion will allow us to have access to quantum potential. It will allow us to have access to this field of possibilities that will allow us to then manifest what we want. Remember, manifesting, we go back to day 1, is about learning how to get out of our beta brainwave and into an alpha or a theta state And in that alpha and theta state, we have access to this quantum field where we can start to manifest and create this, become this energy. And then on that next deeper level into the delta and the gamma states, which will then allow us to have quantum healing. And I've literally seen people heal right before my eyes on stages at my retreats. I've seen these things happen instantaneously. And we say, well, how is that possible? How is it possible to have an instantaneous healing? Or how is it possible to manifest something in my life if we were to think of the way that we believe that the world exists, or that we've thought that science taught us that the world existed, in the last 300 years of Newtonian physics and all that, then we would say it is not possible. But what I know to be true is that it is possible, because I've seen it in my life. I've done it for myself. I've seen others have it happen. And it's because of this idea of the quantum leap, or the idea that we can get into this quantum energy and allow that to happen. So I always like to share what I call the elevator theory. I have a couple different ways that I like to share to kind of give it in layman's terms. If you're not a scientist and you're like, what is all this quantum stuff? And be like, how do I get this and understand this at a core level? So my favorite is the elevator theory. And I want you to think of it like this. Right now, your broadcast, or your the broadcast, or the tune that you're in, right, is broadcasting. Your antenna is broadcasting everything that's in your life. And so it is showing you your perception, what the world's coming and showing to you is coming because of your broadcast. And I call that broadcast, I call that one of the hotel floors. So imagine that you're going to a hotel, and when you walk in, the attendant says, welcome. And they say, so welcome, Melissa. Here is your key to your hotel room. And you look at it and it's like, okay, my key, I'm on the second floor. Now I go to the elevator and my key, right? You go to those hotels where it only lets you use the key, and you can only get on the floor that you're allowed to get on. You can't go to the other floors. That's the kind of elevator that we're working with here in this idea of broadcasting and how we show up in the world. So you go in and you put your key on there, and it takes you to floor number 2. And when you step off of that floor, the only experience that you know of your reality is what is on that floor. So whatever shows up on that floor is what you have created and is manifesting and creating within your life. So if that's an illness, a disease, a relationship, a health, any of those things, right? That's exactly what you're on that floor. Now, you know for a fact that there are other floors, but you don't have access to them. You literally don't have access to them because your key, which is your programming and your beliefs and the way that you've shown up in the world and your energy, right? The emotions are keeping you stuck, or keeping me stuck at floor number 2. Now, I know that there's a floor number 3 and 4 and 5, and maybe a 1 and 2, and a -0 and a -1 and all these other floors, but I don't have access to them because my reality is that I have created within my own body and system a broadcast that only allows me to see floor 2. So what do I need to do to be able to access those other floors? Well, I've got to change the broadcasting, the perceptions, train my brain, connect to my heart, create a coherence, shift my emotions so that I have access to these other floors, so that I can go onto the elevator. And so maybe my floor, right? My floor there says that I live in California, that right now I was in a boating accident over the weekend and had a metal thing spear me through the back of my knee, so that I was rushed to urgent care and had to, so my reality right now is that this is the reality of where I'm at. And, and I might have this thing going on. I was in a car accident and, I hurt my neck or things like that. Right. And so my reality says that this is where I'm at. Now I can change that by changing who I am and how I'm being, or maybe the accident wouldn't have even happened, right, if I had been on one of those other floors. So by shifting my energy, shifting my emotions, creating the coherence, training my brain, actually the 6 steps that I teach in my Quantum Miracles, the experience, step by step, each of those things and the techniques allow me to change my broadcast so that I can get on the elevator and go to a different floor. So maybe I get back on the elevator and I hit floor number 3 and I get to go up to floor number 3. And this time I walk out and my reality and what I see is different. And so maybe when I get on that floor, my back pain in the middle of my back completely disappears. I've seen that happen right in front of my eyes. I had a woman that came to my retreat in Australia back in 2000 and I think it was 19. Yeah, it was 2019. It was right at the end of 2019 before COVID. I feel like I missed a year somewhere because I wasn't doing live stuff. 2019, and she had a stroke and half of her face was paralyzed. And when we walked her through one of our processes within 20 minutes, and her, she had several family members that were at this retreat with her that had come to previous retreats and had massive transformations and things like that. Within 20 minutes, in front of her family and the other people at the retreat, her face healed itself, right? How does that happen if you're not changing the channel? And what were we doing? We were doing an emotional process that actually she healed a core root emotional situation that it showed up physically. Remember, Newtonian says that matter exists and that this shows up. But because she had healed this thing that was connected to the physical ailment that was showing up, the ailment healed itself instantly. And so there's the possibility of these things happening. I've seen this happen many times over. I have pages and pages of testimonials for how this changing of your broadcast can completely shift. I've had people heal PTSD, right? I've worked with Marines and I've worked with trafficking victims and young kids and old people, all around, and seen these things shift by taking these processes and do that. So today, you just know that your elevator is only letting you go to one floor. And what we want to do is start to open up so that you have the opportunity to get to another floor at your hotel. And that floor you get to make from this quantum soup of infinite possibilities. And you do that through these processes, through understanding really clear intentions, right? We have the intention creation for all these different things. And so today we're going to play with this quantum potential, and we're going to play with the field. So your heart and your pineal gland are the antennas that connect to this field. And you're always broadcasting, right? And that broadcast, what you're broadcasting, that level, that floor, is creating reality and is coming back to you. So how do we change the channel? Well, we've got to do a couple of different things. We've got to learn how to get into what I call the gap, right? And so there's this quantum void, this gap. The gap, and what does that mean? That means that all potentials exist in an off or on position. Think of it like a light switch. The light switch is on. That means that it's happening for you right there. So whatever's happening in your life right now, the light switch is on. And then for the things that aren't manifesting, that aren't showing up, the light switch is off. Right? It's down in that off position. So it's these two positions of potential. But when you're moving through the off to the on, that space in between, right? That moment right when the switch is in between the two, it has an opportunity to go either way. That's the space where everything exists. Everything is there for you, and it is within your opportunity to switch it from one or to the other. So the best way to predict your future is to create it from the unknown, to create it from this middle spot, because all potentials in the field exist as electromagnetic signals, and you can literally collapse time and space to bring them to you. That's where all the science of the quantum and the quantum mechanics come in, because time is a linear thing that exists in our brains and in our minds, but does not actually exist. They've done scientifically proven that your future affects you just as much as your past. Yes, this is true. I interviewed Dean Radin, who wrote a couple of different books. He's this incredible scientist who dives deep into the metaphysical and has written several books. And I interviewed him about this idea of, he talks about how future can affect your past, or future can affect your present, and the past can affect your present, right? And if you think about that, it makes sense if you understand that in the quantum time, there is no such thing as time and space. It all exists now. It is our brains that create the reality around us. And so that's why people have come into these challenges and manifested I think $10,000 instantly, like within 24 hours, and have manifested cars and different things, and had healings and stuff like that. Because when you learn to collapse those signals, which are electromagnetic, again, remember, what does that mean and why is that important? Your brain sends out electromagnetic signals. Your heart sends out electromagnetic signals. You are literally in a field of electromagnetic signals that are coming off of your body. Sometimes they're called auras. All of these things are understanding the science behind how you are a walking manifesting magnet and machine. But what you're magnetizing to you right now is not always exactly what you want. And so we've got to learn these processes of getting in and doing that. So we want to create from this space of nothingness, which you cannot create from nothingness in beta. And so we've got to learn how to practice the silence. And guess what? It's not as hard as you think. It only takes 17 seconds. 17 seconds of absolute silence in the gap to allow the process to start to move from that place of where it's this thought or this thing that you want into the manifestation of it in the field. 17 seconds. And then the process that happens after that is staying in the high vibration, is the belief, is the things that once you've put this into the field, you've got to then match that so that it shows up in your life, right? You've got to get to that elevator and that level and that into that hotel floor that you want to be on. Does that all make sense? Is everybody understanding where I'm at? I know I'm going like saying lots of stuff here. This is my favorite part, and that's why I was so excited today, because I was like, "Whoa, this is my favorite part," because being someone that's a scientist and loving the idea behind quantum physics, I read so many nerdy books. You have no idea. I read 5 or 6 books a month, and like at least 4 of them are all science-y, and it's like one of my favorite things. So when we dive deeper into that, I give you in layman's terms how to really understand and use the quantum field to allow you to access it. So how can you access this ground state or 0 point? How many of you have heard of like 0 point? There's so many names for this, right? This space. Can you get to the stillness? Why are you not creating or manifesting or pulling in the thing that you want? Because stress, anxiety are 2 of the biggest things that we have in our society right now, especially because of the world that this planned pandemic or whatever you want to call it, this thing that we're living in, right? That is bringing fear about us and bringing these things into our world. We're living in a world where everything is stress and fear all of the time. We're being bombarded with it. I stopped watching the news 15 years ago because of that. I stopped doing this thing because I wanted to be able to touch into my inner self in the knowingness for where it was true for me. And guess what? The thing is that your reality, whatever you believe about what's happening in the world right now, guess what? It is the truth. It is the truth. There is no such thing as you're right and I'm wrong, because that person's reality is true for them. And you can't tell them that their reality is not right because it's not the same as your reality. My reality is a five-dimensional living in love and unconditional love. So my reality of what's happening is completely different than somebody else that is at a level of consciousness of 200. If anybody's ever heard of like David Hawkins' work, right? Their belief and their knowingness of what is happening, it is true for them. So you have to have compassion for those people that don't have the same beliefs as you, and understand and just work on creating and shifting your own reality so that you can live through this in a different way. So the quantum realm is not only influenced by our actions, which is, are we stressed? Are we not? What are we thinking? What are we doing? But also by our consciousness. And that's what I just started in with a little bit, right? That level of consciousness. Where are you at? So what are the ripples that you're sending out? Are you in constant activity? One thing I'll tell you is this, and this is to be true. If you are someone that feels stuck, or you feel like you haven't been able to manifest, or you feel like you haven't been able to do it, if it's just like anything else. If you want to be a bodybuilder, you're not going to the gym once a week and you're going to step on a stage. If you want to shift your energy and learn to create stillness and be in a ground state, if you are not diligently working on the processes daily, you will not get what you want. You will pop in and out of flow state here and there. Things will show up here and there all once in a while. But if you want those big things, those dreams, that purpose, if you want to heal that thing and you're not committed to the consistency of it and doing it daily, I'm sorry to tell you that it's going to be really freaking hard. Really freaking hard. And you know what? You can take the 2x4 method. You could do it really hard. You could go get hit over the head 5,000 times until you did. My book that I just got slated for that with a publisher that's going to be coming out in early 2022 that I finished my outline for, called Chuck It in the Fuck It Bucket, talks about the fact that you can get hit by a 2x4 over and over and over again. And eventually, once that 2x4 is going to hit you so hard that you will drop to your knees and surrender, and you will find that. But guess what? You can do it by grace too. But you've got to be able to do it by grace, by willing to step into this work daily and consistently. And I guarantee you, if you make a commitment to daily, and I'm not talking about an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, commit to 15 minutes. If that 15 minutes a day, even 5 minutes 3 times a day, right? 5 minutes 3 times a day, because it's even better than 15 minutes straight, right? 5 minutes 3 times a day, because what you're doing, you're training your brain for 5 minutes, and then you're getting a gap, and then again. What will happen in your system is you'll get to a place where you don't have to do it every day. But if you don't commit to it, then you're not going to make it happen. And so I've had people that have come and followed my work for 10 years now. And I have a couple of them that come back 6, 7 years later, and they're like, say the same things over and over again. And it becomes one of those things where it's almost like a broken record. And I ask, are you doing it on a daily basis? No. I don't know what else to tell you, right? And this isn't something where this is an energy, this is a being. You know, how hard is it to wake up every day and find something to be joyful about? Listen, I know, I've been there. I've had massive amounts of trauma. I've seen, the worst of the worst. I know what it's like to be. I've woke up many times with my bank account in the negative. I've had no money to buy food. I have been homeless. I've done it all, seen it all, right? I understand that it can be really hard, but when you get to a place where you say, okay, I'm gonna find a way to do this, and if you commit to yourself, it's not committing to anyone else, it's to you. You will find a way to get to the energy of being in that. So what we're going to do today is we're going to step into the process of learning to be in the silence. So then we're going to feel what the energy feels like. So first off, let's feel energy. And you guys have all done this before. Remember when you were kids? You're like rubbing your hands together. So let's all do that. Just rub your hands together. Just start to feel it, right? Feel that. And then what you do is you rub them, and then you start to pull. And you can hold them together. You'll start to form, you can form a ball in this. In our quantum healing programs, we teach people how to harness this energy for healing. But this is you. This is what is in you, what is a part of you. You can make it so strong that you literally can't get your hands to go back together. Do you feel the energy between your hands? It might at first, yeah. I see Nicole laughing. She's like, yeah. Like that is the key, right? So this energy is a part of who you are. And when you get into this silence, what will start happening is you will start to leave the physicalness of your body, and your whole body will feel like that. You will feel like the energy. And in that space is where the magic exists. That's that space in between. When you shift from physicality into energy, because again, remember, if all of your body fits on the pin of a needle, that means that 99.99.999 whatever percent of your body is energy, then use that to get what you want, right? But to do that, to practice that, to feel that energy, to get there, you've got to do it on a daily basis. It's not something that you can willy-nilly around about. And even people that are my mentors and my gurus and people that I work with, do you think they take a day off and go and say, not today, sir? No, they don't, right? And they have, they levitate and stuff. I mean, I can't wait to get there. So maybe when I get to Tibet, we'll see what happens. But that's also a belief too. Do we believe we can have that? One of the people that I work with, Lee Holden, who's a Qigong master, did that I was also part of my docuseries. He traveled the world and he did a documentary called Superhuman. And he literally has a video of people levitating and of of these miraculous things. We all have that same ability, but what are they? They're masters at focus and getting into the field. Masters at that. So we're going to get silent for a moment, and we're going to use breath. Breath is really simple. So I just want you to start to understand what it feels like to be in that space. And when we dive deeper into understanding the field, I'm going to teach you processes for getting into the gap. There's a way that you can start to look at the space in between things. I love to do it in nature. You'll actually start to see the auras around, like trees and stuff start to pop out, and like it looks like fairy dust. It's like all these like fairy dust or like sparkles and things that start to happen. And a lot of people can do it a lot better in nature. But you'll start to get this energy around you and these things happening for you in that. So we're just going to take a few moments, right? And I just want you to notice, and this is not a you're right or wrong or anything like that. It's just like, can you breathe into the silence? So we're going to do a breath that, and when we breathe, I want you, instead of paying attention to the breath, which is what most meditations tell you to do, we're going to pay attention to when you pause on the top of the in-breath and pause at the bottom of the in-breath, so that you're noticing the pause. That's the space in between. And just see what you notice. And we're just going to do that for a couple of minutes. And I just want you to just focus on that and just see what starts to happen with your body. Okay? I'm going to turn on my, hey Siri, set a timer for 2 minutes.
2 minutes, counting down.
Okay, so breathe in and hold, and just focus on the hold. Hold it for like 5 to 10 seconds, whatever your count is. Don't even count, just hold, and then breathe back out and hold at the bottom again. And just repeat that breath for the next 2 minutes, breathing in, and I want you to focus on that hold. Notice, does something come in? Do you hear voices? Do you hear things? Or do you have that space? And then each time, let that hold a little bit longer so that you can feel that. That was 2 minutes. Not too long. What did you notice? My body started doing this. I started feeling like I was going in circles, which is when I know that I am letting go of that physical body. Were you able to tap in, swaying a bit? Yeah. Were you able to tap into the energy of your body, right? Noticing that even something as simple as this, like, listen, when I say every day, if you are brand new and that's the best that you can do is do that a couple of times a day to start, that's something, right? That's giving you the sign. It's what happens. Our brains create all this chatter and these thoughts, and we have, like, remember, 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and they're all pretty much the same. We need the space in between that to allow that to happen, so that when you create your intentions and you have your formula and you understand how to do that and you do the work, when you're in that space, these things start to appear and create and open. And that's the key for where we want to be in that space, right? And then we can start to say, okay, now that I have this gap there, I can start to get into the gap of things, and you'll start to notice gaps, right? One of the things that we do during the 6-week program that we go deep into is we start to pay attention to like the gaps between objects and the gaps in music and the gaps in all these different things, so that you can have this ability to start to slow down and get to your ground state. Your goal is to get to ground state, to get to a place where the energy and the emotions, right? Energy is motion. And if you have negative emotions that are scrambling, right? Your brain's all incoherent, and all these things are happening. We've got to find the space in there to allow that to heal. And so we want to start rewiring, right? We rewire the brain, and we reprogram it into the next level, into that space. And it completely shifts the way that we have an experience. I know Molly's on here, and I know that Molly has come through some of our other programs, and she was doing this work, and when she came, she had massive teeth issues with her teeth and pain and things. And I remember it took about 3 months, I think, but she came back, and she said, oh my gosh, the pain is gone. It's been reduced. It's not something that always happens overnight. It's possible. Now remember, quantum, it is possible, but there are beliefs, ideas, things, and reasons why sometimes things don't happen on top of that. And there's a bit of like karma and other life stuff that plays into that, which I don't get into quite as much right now, right? So there's these ideas of how the past and the future, other lives and things are affecting what's happening in us right now. But what I do know is that there are these scientific step-by-step processes that will help you to get into that. So your experiment, your challenge, this one's going to be for the next 48 hours instead of 24. Why? Because, well, we don't have a challenge. So this one is one of my favorite of the experiments that we do, and it's called It's Raining Blessings. So it's raining blessings. Hallelujah. It's raining blessings. So instead of it's raining men, we're going to rain blessings. Okay. And the intention behind this experiment is to actually find the field, right? This is where we're going. Today's all about the God field, but we want you to find the field. We're going to say, oh, I want you to be able to come back in 48 hours and say, I know that it exists, and it is here, and it's believable, right? This is one of my favorite ones also because I have a list of things that people have done in the 48 hours that this one does. I can remember one of the craziest ones that ever happened was in New York back in, I think, 2015. I did an event, and I told people, I was like, okay, you got 48 hours, like it's raining blessings. One of the women came back to me. Well, we had somebody that got their green card in 48 hours and some fun stuff like that. But one woman came back to me and she's like, so my ice maker on my freezer has been broken for 2 years. Broken, like it needs to be fixed, whatever. It started making ice in 48 hours, right? Like, and it's just, this is the kind of silly things like that too, right? It's so much fun. So what it is your intention is to find the field. Awareness is the key to connecting to the God field. You have infinite possibilities, but to see the magic of the universe, right? To see the magic of the universe, you have to engage with it and create awareness for the beauty in your life. So this time we're going to prove once and for all, that there is an abundant, loving force out there ready to rain blessings on you. Okay. And so Patrick Miller, who's the founder of Fearless Books, says, allowing myself to become a little nutty and irrational did open me up to certain mystical experiences. So guess what? You get to be a little irrational and nutty. So the rules are this. So the universe is always conspiring to bring you what you want. So your goal is to get into, right? Practice this space, stay in that, stay in the blissed out state as much as possible. If you need to, do that heart breath daily. And I want you to demand to have blessings rain down on you. Listen, the field will listen to you, and sometimes your inside signature is so confused, right? You're incoherent that the field is like, They say they want this thing, but then they act like they don't, and they do the opposite. So I want you to literally say out loud. You're going to create and demand out loud. I'm going to be like, hey, universe, God, source, whatever you want to call it, right? I use a very general term. I call it the God field. I say, hey, God field, guess what? I want proof. I want irrefutable proof that you are real and that you exist. I want you to rain blessings down on me for the next 48 hours. And so the key is I want you to give me something that is unexpected. I don't want it to just be simple, and I want to really have some cool, unexpected thing show up in the next 48 hours so that I can know once and for all that this is the real deal. Now, you're going to ask for a gift. In this experiment, you do not get to specify what the blessing or the gift is, right? Somebody got their ice machine working. Somebody else had a lemon tree that for 7 years had not sprouted lemons, and within 48 hours sprouted a lemon. I mean, right? This is like, you can't irrefute that evidence when your ice machine starts working. You have a lemon on your tree. You get your green card that you've been waiting for 3 years, and it happens in that 48-hour period. Cool stuff like that. So I don't want you to specify. I want you to just say, I want a gift, I want a blessing, and then ask for the field to show you the proof of its existence and give it a time frame. So write it down, today's time, 48 hours. And then what I want you to do is you're going to keep a notebook and carry it around with you, and you're going to write down every single blessing and gift that shows up in your life in the next 48 hours. I've had somebody come back to me with 30 in 48 hours. Now, you know what happens? You want to know why they got 30? I want to tell you this. Because the more that you recognize the small miracles and the simple things and the simple blessings, and you write it down and you say it, guess what? The universe says, oh, I got you. I'm going to give you another one. Ooh, I got you. I'm going to give you another one. Ooh, right? It literally compounds on itself. It's like, how many of you have ever made a snowman? You start small and then it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? That's exactly how this one works. You start small and you notice, oh my God, I found a penny on the ground, right? Well, it sounds so simple and small, but you know what? When you say, oh my God, I found a penny on the ground, and you write it down, guess what? Something else bigger is going to show up. Something bigger. And it's been incredible, the people that really play into this. And this is a game, right? You are playing a game with the universe in the next 48 hours. Gamify this stuff. Take it and have as much fun and see what all you can come up with. And, it's going to be so much fun. And write it all down. Write it down, share it in the group, share it with me. Those of you that are on my text message, if you didn't find the text message, you can go in and find it. You can text them to me, right? I gave everybody access. We have a text community that you can do, but do that and have the gratitude and write them down. Write them down. Because I don't want you to forget, because this is going to build your confidence with the universe and how it works. Because you're going to walk out of the next 48 hours, I guarantee you, if you do this, and you will know that the field exists, and it will give you the backing that you need to go for the big things that you really want to create, right? But you got to start with these small things, because then the next thing after that is, guess what? You get to specify what the heck you want to come out of the field. Like I did with my surfboard and with, all sorts of other things at this point in my life. I do it all the time. But this way, you get to really play with it and start to see that the field is this ambivalent, beautiful thing that has your back, that wants to rain blessings on you. It wants to, but if you are not aware of the blessings that are showing up in your life every day, guess what? You're not gonna get, it's like so you're playing a thing. Like if you ignore your best friend for a week, and they text you every day, after a while, a year later, they're gonna be like, screw you, whatever, right? Like, so the same thing with the universe. You've been ignoring it. You've been ignoring this field, and we want you to not ignore it and play with it and have